All right, it is 4 o'clock. If we are ready, we're going to go ahead and call the executive committee to order. With roll call, we do have 5 members present, and that does make a quorum. It is my understanding that Ms. Klein would like to call in. Do we do it at this point?
She's actually online, I believe. Is that correct, Dan? She's not joined. So I guess we can let you know if she does join.
And then I'll go through the script and we'll do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Where you could get the motion.
Approval now?
Have it get approval.
Okay.
Pops on the board.
All right, for remote attendance, having conducted the open call, roll call and declared a quorum is physically present, I would like to inform the committee that Member Klein has requested to participate remotely under County Board Rule 2020 and in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Notice was received from Member Klein in accordance with our rules. Per Board Rule 2020, Member Klein will be authorized to attend the meeting electronically if a motion to approve and the member's electronic attendance is made, seconded and adopted by a majority of the members of the committee. May I have a motion to approve Member Klein's remote attendance? Motion by Abel, second by Reeves. Comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So when Ms. Klein arrives, we will be able to allow her into the meeting. Okay, thank you. Next up, we have item 2, which is the consent agenda, and that is approval of the minutes from May 12th, 2025, April 17th, 2025 stand-up meeting, and 2B is recommended payment of the bills and transfers, if any. May I have a motion? Motion by Lehman, second by Abel. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, item 3, request to speak by members of the public or county employees. Administrator Taylor.
Chair Johnston, we've had no requests this evening.
Thank you. Moving on, item number 4, board appointments and reappointments. I'm going to ask that we make this one motion for 4A and 4B, provided there's no objection from the committee.
Have discussion?
You'd like to have discussion? Excellent. Okay. Do you have any opposition to them being moved as one
No.
item? Okay. All right. So I am looking for a motion on item 4A and B, and these are board appointments and reappointments. May I have a motion? Motion by Reeves, second by Abel. Comments and questions? Yes.
Southeast McLean County Water Authority, kind of my backyard.
Yes, it is.
And I'm really delighted with Mike McLaughlin as being a candidate for that. Russell Benjamin, 2 outstanding farmers in the area. They know water. I just have a question with the Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
His background or his job. Can you give me a little history?
So he is, his background is he is with the laborers. What we've had with the Water Authority is that we did have one member who had passed away and needed to be replaced. And then we had 2 members that resigned simultaneously. So we needed 3 members there was a backlog. They had gone 2 years without a levy. And they had a backlog of bills where the chair had been paying, I believe, out of his pocket to the lawyer, and the clerk or the treasurer had not been paid. So they typically meet once a year to approve the bills, to make the payments, and move on. If they need to push a levy, they do meet a second time in November, but they usually meet once a year. Right now, the priority was to get people on the board so that they could have a quorum, so they could have a meeting, and make sure that the backlog of bills were paid now that they do have a levy coming in July. So this is something that, working with the lawyer is very competent. This is his primary area of expertise. Mark McGrath, I believe is his name. Is that correct, Mr. Rude? Yeah, Mark McGrath. So he'll be the one kind of helping them coordinate how to get this up and running. The Southeast Water Authority has been formed since about 1990 when there was a drought, and they were worried that Bloomington would come and pump water. And since then, they've really had 2 major actions that they've participated in. So really, I needed people fairly quickly to form the board so that they could get the backlog of bills paid. And these were the 3 that we were really struggling to find someone who was willing to step into that role. So these were the 3 that all agreed. from that region.
Okay. Irregardless, I think you need experts in the, well, not experts, but knowledgeable people for water. So, okay, that answers my question. Thank you very much.
I think they'll be relying on Mr. McGrath's expertise in this area. He sits on the State Water Authority Commission, is that what it was called? That sounds good. Yeah, and so he will really be helping shepherd them through any issues that do present to the Water Authority Board and the process of making sure that they get the paperwork taken care of and the bills taken care of.
Could you give me Mike's last McGraw?
McGrath,
I was on Bloomington Township Public Water District for like 19 years, so water's an important thing.
it is.
And that's why, just because I'm passionate about water and drainage.
If here, I can pass you his card if you want to take his information down. Yep.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, Mr. Reeve?
If they're only meeting annually, what kind of expenses would they have?
Because they are a board, they do have to have, I'm not sure they have to have a report published about what their funds are and what they've spent the money on. And it has to be published, so there's an advertising cost, I believe, there's a report cost. It's pretty minimal, but the account had dwindled down pretty low, and they do have a backlog because, like I said, the treasurer had not been paid. And the chair does deserve, I believe, reimbursement for the expenses he incurred to cover the lawyer fees. So it's not excessive. It is a small levy that they run, and they don't have to run it every year. What they're bringing in this year, I think, should cover them for a little while. So it is small. Any other questions? Yes,
Do we have any other water authorities in the county?
we do. I don't know if I know the list right off the top of my head. Julie, would you have that?
I don't have the list off the top of my head. I know there was the Hudson one, but they have sort of
So
disbanded non-officially, but they aren't active anymore. The Southeast one covers a pretty huge, like
It is
40%
a
of the
large
county's
section.
land area, so it's pretty large.
any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 4A and B, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, item 5, departmental matters. Under 5A1A, we have information technologies, and I will turn it over, or let me get a motion and a second for 5A1AA1. Request approval of purchase to purchase computer systems under the terms of the Intergovernmental Joint Purchasing Agreement. May I have a motion? Motion by Reeves, second. Second by Friedrich. And I will turn it over to you, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm actually going to hand this to Mr. Berger, our Assistant Director of IT, because he's been pointing me in on this project.
Excellent. The floor is yours.
So this is our annual replacement. We're on a 4-year life cycle for office computers. This is the balance that is up for replacement this year.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the committee? It's expensive to maintain security, the technology security. So, all right. Seeing no comments or questions, may I have all in favor of 5A1A1? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have item 5A1A2, and request approval of the change order with the Mission Critical Partners for their impact study. May I have a motion? Motion by Abel. May I have a second? By Friedrich. All right, now we'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so we're in the process of replacing our Aegis system, and one of the components of that is the records management system. The current implementation of that is scheduled to go live right now on July 22nd. That's not the original go-live date we have. There have been delays, and that has frustrated some of our stakeholders who've been involved in the process. And so during the time that it took us to get ready for this go-live now, some of them have looked at other alternatives that have come into the market since we made the selection of this vendor. There is some interest on the parts of some of the stakeholders at looking at switching to an alternative vendor. We think, and I think, I will represent myself, the justice system is a very large ecosystem, and to make a change like that could have serious ripple effects. But I'm probably not the best person from inside to demonstrate all of this. So we sought out 3 different proposals from 3 consulting companies. Mission Critical Partners has been our partner through the entire Aegis replacement up to this point, and I do believe they are the most knowledgeable of all the systems and what those impacts would look like as they relate to the relationship between the RMS, which is the Records Management System for law enforcement, and that's the system I'm discussing, and as that relates to the JMS, the Jail Management System, the CMS, which is the Courts Management System, the CAD replacement, which is scheduled to go live 1 week after the RMS goes live it'll go live on July 29th, and MECCOM, the new system there. And so we've had 2 large meetings, which included the external stakeholders. And in both of those meetings, we floated the idea of getting an impact study so that we can have someone take a look at what would be the consequences, what would be the pros and the cons of looking at an alternative vendor, and when. So the proposal that I'm bringing and recommending was the cheapest of the 3 that was proposed, and it was for Mission Critical. And it will evaluate 3 possible paths. We're at the bottom of the first page of the relevant memo. It says continue with Caliber Public Safety as a long-term solution, implement Caliber and then replace that with an alternative one down the road, or stop implementation now and move immediately to begin implementing an alternative solution. So that's the proposal before you. I believe the cost was just under $35,000. Yes, $34,400 for the work fixed price, and would be paid out to the Shared Sales Tax Fund, which one of its missions and components is to aid in the replacement of the Aegis system that we're discussing. So that's what
That
I
is
bring before
correct.
you.
And I mean, for an impact study like this, the reason that I support this moving forward is that any change like this is going to have, this is not a small dollar amount that we're looking at for whether we continue, which would, I think, make some of our partners unhappy if we change or if we stop and then restart with a whole new system. That is huge amounts of time, and that is a significant dollar amount. And so the $34,000, I think, is well worth the ability to really take an assessment of what would we be getting with those 3 different paths. And so I just wanted to make sure, does anybody else have questions about this? I think that it's well worth the money to see what are the options and what does it mean. So, okay, any other questions? Okay, all in favor of item 5A1A2, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on, item 5A2, Behavioral Health Coordinating Council, we have Marita Landreth. Would we like to make a motion for item 5A2A1, request approval of an award for the RFP for the non-congregate shelter project to Home Sweet Home Ministries, and a presentation from Mr. Burgess at Home Sweet Home? Can I have a motion? Motion by Lehman, may I have a second? Motion by Abel. And the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. As the memo suggests, we are here to request your approval of an award of this RFP. Our department released a request for proposals for a non-congregate shelter program that includes behavioral health service integration, which was a part of the Mental Health Action Plan's 2025 strategic priorities to increase safe temporary shelter space with coordinated access to behavioral care. A single proposal was received by the deadline from Home Sweet Home Ministries. The submission was sent to 4 independent evaluators from the community. Based on the information received from the evaluators, the feedback from the listed references that Home Sweet Home Ministries had, we are recommending awarding this proposal to Home Sweet Home. There was a sole submission for this RFP, but we did specifically ask our evaluators if they would recommend reposting of this RFP in light that this was a single submission. And they recommended moving forward with this submission regardless of it being the only submission. At this point, we are still working on a contracting process. This is purely for approval of the proposal for this RFP. So we anticipate being able to bring a specific contract for these services in July. And before handing it off to Mr. Burgess for a presentation with more information about the proposal, I'd be happy to answer any questions about the process or the evaluation.
Any comments or questions? We ready to jump into the presentation? Okay, let's move forward.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to come speak with all of you this afternoon. I'm Matt Burgess. I'm the CEO at Home Sweet Home Ministries. And you may have seen me or heard me talk about this sometime over the past 2 years, because I've been talking about the need for our community to do something to address the growth of unsheltered homelessness across Bloomington Normal. And so I'm happy to talk about what we are proposing. We have chosen to name this shelter village The Bridge, as a nod both to its location on the south end of downtown, right before you come over the bridge to come into town, but also to indicate its purpose, and that's to be a bridge for people coming inside, to get out of homelessness and into a permanent housing arrangement, with the bridge as the first step towards that. So this is just I've got some pictures that I want to show you of renderings of the project, and I'll kind of talk through in broad strokes what the project entails. So this is indicating what we have right now on the left-hand side of this image is encampments and empty lots and things like that. And so what we want to do is replace the encampment phenomenon that we have seen grow over the past 2 to 3 years in particular with a structured program that will connect people to both housing services and behavioral health services. So we can go to the next slide. In the concept that we have on the location that we hope to be finalizing maybe within a matter of days at this point, we are proposing developing 48 sleeping cabins. Those are the small structures that you see in the image here that will then be connected to electricity, but not plumbing. So there's a power run to each of these sleeping units for climate control and lighting purposes. They will be lockable structures so people can sleep safely behind a locked door, just like I presume most of us in this room do every night. On the campus, we have a washroom. That's the longer rectangular building up towards the top middle of the campus. Those are 7 ADA, fully ADA compliant washrooms with showers and fold down seats and all of that, toilets and sinks and all of that in that building. The largest building in the diagram is our clubhouse. We're calling it the clubhouse. This is where we'll have various amenities, and I have another image here in just a minute to show you what the diagram of the inside of that is. That's where offices will be provided. That's where the services will be provided. My staff will be located, but also some central gathering space will be available for folks. A couple of other features that I want to highlight about this project is that it is staffed 24 hours a day. We will always have a minimum of 2 staff, trained staff people on site to provide both security oversight and also provide the day-to-day care for individuals who are residing in that. And then we're also trying to eliminate or lower as many barriers as possible to people as they seek shelter. And so one of the issues that we call out specifically in this image is that we will have an off-leash dog area. One of the barriers to people coming inside right now into either the Home Sweet Home Ministries shelter or the Salvation Army shelter is when they have a companion animal. Those animals are not able to be served in our existing shelter programs. So we will be able to accommodate people with those animals, whether it's a dog or a turtle or a cat or whatever they may have with them while they are on the streets right now. That will not be a barrier to them receiving services. We can go to the next slide. This is just an indication of what the main entrance to the property will be off of Oakland Avenue. It's a drive-in to the little parking area. You can see the clubhouse featured there, as well as the privacy fence that completely surrounds the property. I hope you can tell there's a gate, the pedestrian gate there, that will be a main point of entry and egress for the residents of the Shelter Village, who will be able to come and go whenever they want to, using an electronic swipe card or a key fob to get through that controlled access point. We also have a vehicle gate to allow entry for emergency vehicles. That's the whole purpose of the lane that goes all the way around the backside of the clubhouse. It's so that if we have a medical emergency or require emergency responders on site, we can open the vehicle gate and they can pull all the way through without having access or turnaround difficulties. In the clubhouse itself is the next slide. This is a diagram that reflects the general structure of what we will be providing in that unit. The bottom right corner of the diagram shows the main entrance. That is the door that swings open to the bottom of the diagram. That is where anybody who is not a resident of the Shelter Village will be expected to enter through that door. That serves as a little security vestibule where we have our reception desk, and we'll have electronic locks on those doors. We'll have what we call an amnesty bin for people. Looks like you're going to have to look over at that screen at this point. For people, if they bring, sorry, I've lost my train of thought just real quick. If they bring substance use paraphernalia or actual drugs, they'll be able to drop it in this amnesty bin. Just like at airports, before you go through the TSA security checkpoint, they have these in virtually every airport now. We will have the same thing there, because we will not be permitting drug and alcohol use on the premises, but we will not be requiring sobriety as a condition of seeking our services. That kind of comes hand in hand with lowering barriers, that if people are under the influence, we will still allow them to go to their sleeping unit as long as they're not an unsafe individual, either to themselves or to somebody else at that time. So the clubhouse is divided into two main sections. The right-hand side in this diagram shows the common gathering space. We want to provide this as kind of a living room equivalent for folks who are residing in the bridge, as well as providing some on-site cooking capabilities. Because the property is located where it is, in close proximity to Home Sweet Home's existing campus, we do not intend to have a fully fledged food service facility as part of this campus. Rather, we're going to invite people to just walk across the street and come to our dining center that exists right now. It's one of the many cost-saving measures that we can take given this specific location. We already provide 3 meals a day, every single day of the year, out of our existing dining center, and most of the people that we expect to reside in the bridge are already coming in for meals, and so they're very accustomed to coming into our facility for those services. But you can also see some outlines of couches and chair, just as a place for people to hang out. If they don't have someplace else to be, we want them to know that this is essentially their home for the time being, while they are looking for a more permanent residence, and we're working with them. The rest of the clubhouse is really devoted to the office space, and I want to kind of lean into talking about what those offices are going to be used for. Obviously, we will have program staff. We'll have a program manager, a case manager type of a position, who will be working in office out of 2 of these 5 offices. But the remaining 3 offices that we're constructing in the clubhouse are offices that we will be sharing as shared space with our service partners. A key aspect to the bridge, as has been mentioned, is to connect people to services, in specific behavioral health services, whether that is mental health service or substance use disorder treatment. Those are going to be some of the services that are provided on site. We already have commitments from most of the main nonprofit providers in this realm, in this community. Chestnut Health Systems, the Center for Human Services, the Center for Youth and Family Solutions, Project Oz, Mid-Central Community Action, PATH, the Salvation Army. Those are all the ones that I can readily rattle off the top of my head and say, they are prepared to come in and be scheduled for regularly recurring on-site services within the bridge, within the clubhouse. We think this is an innovation in offering services to people because we're not requiring them to go from the shelter where they're residing across town to go to the Center for Human Services for their psychiatric care. We will be able to provide on-site mental health services and probably telehealth psychiatric care out of those offices for folks. So eliminating transportation barriers, eliminating those referral kind of just fall by the wayside occurrences. This will be somebody that if I'm the case manager in the bridge and Marita is the psychiatric provider, I'm going to say, hey, Marita, I've got somebody for you to meet. Let me introduce you to them. And we're all right there on that individual's home turf, right? So it just provides greater access to care that is otherwise not being sought by people while they're trying to survive on the streets. So 60% of the offices that we're building are not for my staff, they're for our service partners. That's how committed we are to making sure that those services are provided on site. We've already been piloting some of that work in our existing shelter. We have an embedded counselor, mental health counselor, that has her office in our existing shelter building. That's a colleague through the Center for Youth and Family Solutions. We already have the Chestnut Health Systems mobile health unit come out to our facility on a regular basis. Their community health workers are embedded in our location as well. So we know what we're doing as far as bringing service partners together to provide access to services, and we're excited about the opportunity that this project brings. The cleaning library, if you're familiar with the Tool Library in West Bloomington, we're going to have a room full of cleaning supplies that the residents can use to clean their units without having to go purchase their own. We're going to make that easier for people to maintain the upkeep of their specific unit, but we're also going to have garbage grabbers and things like that so that they can walk around the grounds, patrol the fence line for litter that gets blown up against that. We're going to make it possible for them to help the upkeep of the overall campus be something that's shared between our staff and the residents as well. We can go to the next slide. This is a little closer up view of the bathhouse over there towards the right-hand side. One of the features that we want to include and will be including in the bathhouse is a light system so that people know if a bathroom's occupied. So you don't have to go up, walk all the way across the campus to test a door handle. You'll be able to look across campus and see if the light is on, it means it's occupied. And if the light is off, it means it's unoccupied and available for you to go ahead and come over to use it yourself. And then the next image is looking from the back of the campus towards the front. This is the off-leash dog area. That's going to be its location, kind of towards the back. You know, we want to make sure that we're providing as humane of services to the animals as well. In fact, earlier today I had a conversation with the president of the board for the Humane Society. We're going to be working on a collaborative partnership for ensuring the animals' well-beings and health and safety. Things like vaccinations, including rabies shots and stuff like that, are all handled through a working relationship with the Humane Society and other veterinarians if they want to be part of that as well. I blitzed through this because what I have found in my year and a half of talking about this project, the richness is really in answering the questions that you have. I take a lot of things for granted because I live and breathe and talk about this all the time, and so I don't want to unintentionally overlook you being able to ask a question about the project that is of particular interest to you. So I'm going to go ahead and transition it back, and I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll open it up to the committee. Questions about the project? I do feel like we've been hearing about it for quite a bit. Mr. Friedrich, Member Friedrich, did you have a question?
Thank you. What's your average stay, would you estimate, for an individual at this facility?
That's a difficult number to pin down. We are projecting 3 to 6 months, and that's really just a ballpark figure based off of our existing experience in our current shelter program. That time frame within our existing shelter is probably somewhere around 60 days right now. The individuals that we're gonna be focusing on serving in the bridge are harder to engage, harder to get housed. That's why they're stuck outside right now, right? This is specifically to engage that harder to serve group of individuals, our neighbors in the community. So we're going to have housing-focused goals with them from the very beginning of their time in the bridge. But there are factors that are beyond their control and beyond our control when it comes to availability of apartments and units in the community. Right now, we're in a good place where we are having success getting people into apartments. But if this were 18 months ago, I would have told you, I don't know how long, because there was no vacancy in the rental market 18 months ago, and it was virtually impossible to get people into affordable units. So we're estimating 3 to 6 months.
What's the average, what is the size of the building structures, the individuals?
Yeah, so the individual sleeping units are gonna be right around 80 square feet, enough space for a small bed, a little desk and chair. We're gonna have mini fridges and little like dorm room style microwaves in the units, and then some clothing storage either through a wardrobe or some shelving units. But it's really to provide a safe sleeping structure for folks more than anything else. That's why we're building in that living room capacity within the clubhouse itself.
Other questions? Yes, Member Abel.
I saw on one of the diagrams, there was a laundry facility, but I think it said staff laundry.
Yeah, if we'll go back to the diagram of the interior of the clubhouse, please. There we go. Yeah, you can see the middle of the 3 rooms on the left-hand side of the diagram. That is where the laundry facilities are. That's for us to wash the linens in between occupants, stays in the bridge. There are laundry services available through our partners. Eastview owns the old YMCA building. They have a laundry facility there. We're working on nailing down the details on the residents just walking across and using that as their laundry for their own like clothing and things while they're residing in the bridge. These laundry machines are for us to turn over the linens, wash towels and things like that, to provide that basic level of hospitality for the property.
Okay, and then I did have a second question. 80 square feet is not a lot of space to store personal property. And I know that that is often a barrier for people being willing to go into these types of situations because they feel like they have to give up all of their belongings in order to be there. Is there a solution for that?
Yes, there is. Thank you. This is why I want to make sure to answer questions, because I always forget to talk about one of these particular parts. We already are storing possessions for people who are in tents right now. We have gotten big roller containers, like the 95 gallons size rolling trash bins, brand new ones from both the town and the city that we're using to store people's belongings, again, across the street at the Eastview Community Center, behind locked doors so that their belongings are safe and secure. We're gonna extend that relationship with Eastview. We will also most likely finalize having some kind of, like a deck locker. If you have a deck or a patio that you put things in, that will be attached or adjacent to each of the sleeping units as another storage, on-site storage. So if they don't want to do as deep of storage, they'll have stuff more readily on site.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Member Lehman.
It certainly seems like everything is incredibly well thought out. I appreciate you sharing with us some of the barriers that existed and do exist for these members of our community. I'm just curious, since everything does seem so really just in line and lockstep, what are some of the barriers that you weren't able to accomplish with this program?
One of the unmet needs is expanding capacity to serve families with minor children. This project is not to serve households with minor children. This is for our adult neighbors who are stuck outside right now. We know also that there are lots of families in undesirable or unstable housing situations. So that's that's a nut that hasn't been cracked yet with this project. I would say that as much as we're committed to lowering barriers in the bridge, we're not going to go with no barriers in the bridge, right? That's why we're going to have restrictions on, you can't bring your substances on site. If you're struggling with sobriety, we're going to be tolerant of that and engage with you on that, but you can't bring your apparatus with you and have your kit with you in your unit. We're going to have some basic safety requirements. And so this isn't a no barrier shelter that some communities have implemented. Those are a couple things that are immediately come to mind. I will say, anytime you have a structured program, there's going to be somebody that says, that's not for me. I'm not about other people telling me what I can and can't do and when I can and can't do it. So we'll still have some reluctance from a small minority of the people that are outside. Because we already are doing street outreach to those individuals, we know for sure that most of them want to come inside. And so we don't expect that to be a widespread issue, but that's important to acknowledge that that will be an ongoing concern.
Awesome, thank you. May I have a follow-up?
Yes, you may.
So again, this seems incredibly robust. You've obviously done a lot of work within other organizations within our community. I've heard about this project over and over on the news with the different teams that you've been working with. So I really appreciate all of the information coming into today. Just curious, so this is a robust program. It seems like first of its kind for our community, and there are a lot of financial resources that are going to go into standing this up. However, looking long-term, how comfortable are you with having the financial resources to not only, make this a really great kickoff for the first year or 2 years, but to be able to withstand this level of service that we would be able to give to folks?
That's a fantastic question. I'd like to be more comfortable than I am sitting here today in having a stable sense of revenue being something that we can count on. We do know that there are grant opportunities that are available. I've already been, of course, working on local resources through corporate giving. We are one of the nonprofits in town that is a featured nonprofit partner of State Farm, and so we get corporate responsibility grants from them already. That will be part of the funding picture. We're talking with other large businesses in town about comparable types of support. The City of Bloomington Township, their office is literally across the street and then also right next door to the bridge property. And so I've had conversations with the Bloomington Township supervisor about financial support through their department. But we'll also be looking as funding cycles for state funding come available, things like Home Illinois money. We'll be seeking that. The HUD money that flows through our continuum of care, we'll be seeking funding through that. So we really are looking at this as a braided funding for operational support for the long-term viability. And it's certainly the county grant funds that we're hopefully going to get through this year will be something that we can count on for ongoing operational support until we can line up enough of those other funding streams that becomes unnecessary. But it's a very, very real reality that we have to find the community support through all sorts of creative ways right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I have a couple questions myself. As you've been working in the population in the tent encampments, what kind of response are you getting? Because it's one thing for us to sit here and say, this looks like a great idea, and it's great services, but the population that we're seeking to serve, what kind of response are you getting back?
Largely positive. In fact, as part of our design of the campus, we've engaged people with the lived experience. We had a group of 3 individuals that were in varying degrees of being outside in our shelter or in housing, provide us with their feedback and comments about the program design, the campus structure, and all that sort of thing. And so we've incorporated that voice into how we're building this program already. So we're trying to be as sensitive as we can to what people want. People want their own space. That's why we have individual sleeping cabins, not talking about large dorm spaces. People want to have the ability to, if they want to make their own food, they want to be able to make their own food, and they don't want to be separated from their dogs. And so several of the features of this project have been included because of the direct input that we've received from our unsheltered neighbors. Beyond that, my street outreach team, really for the past many months, as we've been going out and engaging people in the encampments, wherever they're tucked away, whether it's in a large encampment or they're on their own, they've been talking to those individuals about this, about the bridge specifically. And again, like I said, most of the people are very receptive to it. We've had some ambivalence from some. I think there's some skepticism of it. Is it really going to happen for some of the individuals as well? And so we estimate, based off of the experience other communities have had when they've stood up programs like this, somewhere around 90 to 95% of the people who are outside are very open to coming in to these types of programs.
Okay. And this is a 48 unit. You talked about it being single spaces, but is this only for single adults, or will there be couples?
We'll have a number of double units as well. If we can go to the overview slide. Yep, that one, that's perfect. The ones on each end of each of the lanes, those are a little bit larger. Those are for couples who are outside right now. Again, and we're basing that ratio off of our actual experience of encountering people who are outside. So we're going to have 8 of those double units, and then 40 of the individual units.
Okay. And I will say, I mean, as a mental health provider, like, there are huge barriers to servicing people from this population. And creating a space like this, I really do feel like is in line with our mission, with the Mental Health Action Plan, because it is about creating a space where they can access the services without the kind of barriers of transportation, without the kind of barriers of financial insurance pieces. It becomes too cumbersome for them to even seek services. So I really see this as an opportunity for them to access that in a population that has just been overlooked because they struggle.
Yeah. I obviously I agree. I'm a mental health professional as well. In addition to my tenure at Home Sweet Home, and it's worth pointing out this location makes it possible for the other array of services that Home Sweet Home Ministries is already providing to this population to be readily available. We have a community center where we're bringing service partners into that area. We have a food co-op that's directly across the street. So there's a rich array of services that even go beyond mental health care that will be right in their neighborhood.
Absolutely. All right, any other questions before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A to A1, say aye. Any opposed? Oh, Member Klein joined, and I believe that it was a vote in favor. Is that correct, Ms. Klein?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you for joining us. So the motion passes. Before we move on, I realize that I skipped the items for information under our IT, and I apologize. So we're going to backtrack to item 5A B1, which is the ERP monthly report, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. So last month was the first month we'd provided the report as part of the resolution. And it was clear that there was more detail desired by the committee. So I've worked with Sanford Hess, our project manager, who, by the way, is doing an exemplary job. Want to thank you for providing his assistance to us on this project. He's probably provided 90% of the input into this report. But anyway, with that said, you can see the, if you've got a color copy, there are green and yellow areas there. Yellow is not necessarily a danger sign, but it means that there is something to be commented on or a possible risk that we need to keep in mind. You can see the progress we achieved in May. Big thing there in my mind is chart of accounts underneath the second one. That's really the foundation for the rest of the entire financial system, and we are very close to having that finalized. We have a weekly check-in on Mondays. We had that, or maybe it's bi-weekly, had that today, and it's very, very close to being finalized, and that's a huge milestone in the project. Data conversion is moving smoothly. And as you can see, there are some other items there detailing some of the progress that we made. I'll be happy to answer questions about the progress. Under the risk, there are some areas here we're still delving into. We had a discussion today, for instance, under bullet point 1, as to whether inventory is even a module that we need to continue to include in this project. I think there was some ambiguity and misunderstanding between inventory and assets. And so I think we obviously will be keeping assets, but may or may not be keeping inventory moving forward. So it's more of a commodity-based level. In second bullet, under project risk, there are obviously processes that are going to need to be changed throughout departments. And so we are carefully trying to manage the change management. We have been issuing communications. County administration through the monthly newsletter is issuing communications. Matt and I, in preparation for next year's budget, meet with every department, or we offer to, and we've been communicating about the new system with them as we meet. And so we're trying to get people ready to understand the change that's coming with the new financial system. On the third bullet point, the county auditor really has not been engaged very much in the process, to be honest. So in the very, very initial kickoff, maybe a year and a half ago or so, I'd have to go back and look at the date, she showed up for the initial meeting. We've been having weekly, bi-weekly meetings online, and she hasn't been in attendance in those meetings. She has responded to some emails, but not always timely and not to all emails. I think I'm characterizing that fairly. I'm kind of looking at Cassie and Kathy because Ms. Dreyer has been carrying a lot of the financial information input for us, along with Becky McNeil's office. So that is just, I consider that a major risk for us. I mean, one of our primary financial officers, and we're just not getting input from that office at this time. Moving on, June, as you know, property taxes, and this year maybe more so than others, very, very busy time in the treasurer's office, but they are giving us the time that we're asking for. And then you can see in the next section, the goals for next month. We've got a lot of, it's all very detailed work, a lot of spreadsheets to complete, a lot of processes to detail. We're working on creating the crosswalk between the new account system, the old account system, and how those link and bridge together for the data conversion. And we have the data conversion people on the calls with us each week as well. So we got some further clarification. Today's meeting, I thought, really moved us forward well. I won't go into every single bullet point, but I'll be happy to answer any additional questions you might have.
Thank you. I'll open it up to the committee. Any questions about the report? Highly concerning that we have a financial officer not participating in the process. Fulfilling that duty is very much in the benefit of the constituents of McLean County, in the operations of McLean County, because implementing this system is going to, I feel, make everybody's job a lot easier. And we do have a deadline that we're trying to get to in November, correct? Is it November, the deadline we're looking at?
There's a series of go-live dates because we have phased this project out, but I do believe it's a November date for this piece. Yes.
The finance go-live is currently scheduled for November 1st.
And that's to make sure that we are ready for January, like for the new year.
Yep,
That the system will be in place and operational. Okay. If there are any other questions from the committee, I do hope that we are looking at continued efforts to engage and to bring this in line with kind of expectations of that office. I'm very much in favor of making sure that we have people who are doing their jobs. So.
I will say that, again, Mr. Hess, who has been helping us, has clearly reached out and made an effort to make sure that Ms. Anderson's included on all the meeting invites and communications.
Okay. Well, I appreciate his effort in that. And I'd like to take some steps, see what else we can do to improve that participation. Thank you. Moving on, you have one more item for information, and that is your general report, item 5A, 1B2.
Yeah, again, we try to align this with the three pillars identified by county administration that are out there. I can't say that I think we've ever been busier in IT than we are now in my 25-plus years of being in this department. And some of that is, and thank you, due to the ARPA funding, which is facilitating the replacement of a number of systems. But between the records management system, jail management system, courts management system, there's an integration piece called Boomi in there. Then we also have the financial ERP system that's in there, and I could go on, but it starts to sound a little bit like wine with my cheese, so, you know. But anyway, we're staying busy. We're looking forward to, Tony has been spearheading along with Marshall Thompson, the opening of the new animal control facility, and we're excited about that. I am very excited about, in the jail management system, this will be the first time that the Juvenile Detention Center has ever had an electronic system other than an Excel spreadsheet on a thumb drive that they've been using to manage their data. So looking forward to that. I'll be happy to answer any specific questions you might have in the list here.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your service to the county, and we will go back to our regularly scheduled. Item 5A2A2, and that is request approval of contracts with the Hawk Transit Advertising for $6,950 and for $34,000 for local crisis advertising. And may I have a motion? Motion by Abel, second by Lehman. Comments or questions? Ms. Landreth?
I'm very excited this month to not only be able to present the RFP for the shelter project, but to also get on the books some more of the money set aside for community projects from the Mental Health and Public Safety Fund. And the next three items are from the Mental Health Action Plan strategic priority to enhance public awareness and effective use of specific services through expanded education with an emphasis on crisis services. So what we ended up deciding to do was create a multimedia campaign. So this specific contract is with Hook Transit Advertising for wraps that would cover Connect Transit buses, as well as some tail wraps and some interior signage as well. We elected to have one wrap focusing specifically on the behavioral health urgent care, as one of the purposes behind this multimedia campaign is to decrease the amount of emergency room visits that people are experiencing. So we wanted to emphasize the in-person services that are available here in the community. And then the other wrap would be focused more generally, or I should say the other services are kind of a smattering of the other different crisis services that are available. So whether that's through 988 or what Bright Point's crisis nursery services and a couple of other things that people have access to. The other thing that you'll notice in all of these contracts is we're going to be including advertisement in both English and Spanish. So when you see, usually if you're seeing a doubling of that product, it means that there's going to be one in English and then one in Spanish. Very excited to get, whether you're inside the bus or whether you're driving, whether you're walking, Connect Transit buses are everywhere. So we're excited about this specific opportunity to get more information out in our community.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5A2A2, say aye. Any opposed? Excellent, motion passes. Moving on to item 5A2A3, request approval of the contract with the Panagraph Publishing Company, Lee Enterprises, for $21,137 for local crisis advertising. Can I have a motion? Motion by Abel, second by Lehman. Any comments or questions? I feel like this is right up the same alley, so don't necessarily need to go through all that again. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next item is 5A2A4, request approval of a contract with Marcus Media Group for $25,760 for local crisis service advertising. May I have a motion? Motion by Lehman, second by Abel. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, item 5A3A1, request approval of an ordinance from the McLean County Board amending Chapter 20 of the McLean County Code, the rules of McLean County Board. May I have a motion? Motion by Lehman. Second. Second by Friedrich. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, item 5B, and that is Finance Committee with Member Lehman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance Committee has no items to be presented for action this evening. We do have some to be presented before the board, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Moving on, item 5C, Health Committee, that is normally Corey Byrne, Member Byrne, but he is not here. Who is the next senior member from that committee? I'm not- Nobody here is on health. Would you like me to move that? Okay. So that brings up item 5C1A, request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance, amending the McLean County fiscal year 2025 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance for Fund 0112. May I have a motion? Motion by Abel. I have a second. Second by Lehman. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. The Health Committee has one item to present to the board, and that is a letter of engagement with Elevate Therapy Consulting Group, and I believe that is for the nursing home. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Moving on, item 5D, Justice Committee, and Member Rogal is also missing. Who do we have from Justice Committee? No one from Justice Committee. All right. 5D, Justice Committee has no items to present for action. They do have two items to present to the board. And so we will move on to item 5E, and that is Property Committee with Member Abel.
Thank you very much. The Property Committee has one item for action. Request approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Livingston County for use of the garage and office facility at 510 Hosselton Drive, Chenoa, Illinois. I so move.
All right, and may I have a second by Lehman? Comments or questions about this? This is a building that was used for show bus. Under the contract that we have, we need to remain using it for transportation. We were not able to fit it into any program with our Connect Transit transition. However, Livingston County was very open to this, and so we are signing a 2-year contract, and I'm very pleased to be able to help them out as they take over the role for this. Any comments or questions other than mine? Seeing none, all in favor of item 5E1A, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Back to you, Member Abel.
Thank you very much. We will have two items to be presented to the board, and I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on, item 5F, Land Use and Transportation Committee. Member Klein, would you like to take over from Italy?
I can, if you'd like me to.
Absolutely.
Okay, Madam Chairwoman, the Land Use and Transportation Committee has no items to be presented for action this evening. We will have 5 items for the board next week.
All right. Thank you so much, Member Klein. Moving on to the report of the County Administrator, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Chair Johnston. I have no items to present for action to the committee this evening, but I do have one item for information. We had a very successful property tour on Friday, and I'd like to publicly thank Julie Morlock for her expertise in planning and organizing that event. She not only kept us on schedule, she also brought snacks, which is always appreciated. The first stop on the property committee was at our new Animal Services building. I'm happy to share that it is still on schedule to be completed the end of July. And this past week, they were able to complete work with the HVAC rooftop units started up. The retention ditch was poured. Sound panels were installed in the dog rooms. Propane tanks were set up and connected to the building, and the permanent power supply was completed. So we are getting close to the finish line.
Excellent. Any other business or communication from the committee? Our next meeting will be July 14th at 4 p.m., and this meeting is adjourned.